You know, Romans chapter 12, verse 1 says, and I know it in King James Version by memory, I beseech you, or I plead with you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service. Everybody say reasonable service. I think in the NIV it says, which is your spiritual act of worship. And listen to this. One of the men, the teachers yesterday spoke about Israel and prophecy. Beautiful, deep stuff. And what he said basically is, Romans chapter 9 is the Israel that was. Romans chapter 10 is the Israel now. Romans chapter 11 is the Israel that will be. And basically he's speaking to the Roman church. There's a lot of Jews in Rome. They haven't been expelled yet. They were expelled in about 66 by Nero. There was anti-Semitism, persecution going on. But there's still a lot of Jews there in Rome at that time. And Paul writes to them, and he's writing to the Jewish church, and he's saying, look, this is all the things we have to do. Remember we had to keep this law, we had to keep that law, we had to keep this law, we had to keep that law. And he says now in Romans chapter 10, he says, if anyone calls on the name of the Lord, they will be saved. Jew or Gentile. I'm not ashamed of the gospel, for it's the power of God unto salvation for the Jew and the Greek. And Paul's going over all these things. But then in chapter 12 he says, but look, considering God's mercy, considering Him knowing that none of us could ever keep these laws, the purpose of the law was just to point out the sin in our lives. Considering these mercies, let's present our bodies as living sacrifices. This seems reasonable. Let's at least do that. Since we don't have to listen, since we don't have to keep all these other laws anymore to show God that we want to be different from all the other nations, to show God our faithfulness, to show God our obedience. Let me tell you something. I might lose a job here, and you might stop coming here. But let me tell you something. You don't have to come to church to be saved. It's a dangerous thing. You're taking a chance. But you don't have to come to church to be saved. You don't have to bring the tithe to be saved. Now, here in church, we have certain requirements for our leadership. Leadership, we need to see our leadership in prayer. We need to see our leadership in a home group. We want to see our leadership giving. You know, there are certain requirements for leadership, but you don't have to bring your tithe here to be saved. You don't have to go to prayer to be saved. Okay? But what Paul is saying is, the same way that there were all these things in the Old Testament, because the Lord knew that we as humans need structure and organization in our lives. Otherwise, we just do what we want. And we always think it's good enough. Okay? So it's still to this day, the reason we come to church is to make ourselves accountable. Because listen to this. Those of you that don't come on a regular basis, if you were to write down, and I challenge you, next year, write it down. Write on a calendar when you actually come to church. In your mind, you probably think, I go every week, maybe every other week. And in reality, if you write it down, some of you are going to find out that you come maybe once a month. But sometimes you come once every 2 months. Because in our minds, we're always fine. But we don't want to just live fine. We don't want to just make it in rapture. We want to know for sure that we're going. And we're so certain that we're going, and it's such a beautiful and wonderful place that we're taking other people with us too. That's the kind of life I want to live. And so why do we fast? Let me tell you another reason. Through fasting, we display our, write this down, our loyalty to the Lord. Fasting shows God our love for Him. And fasting shows God our loyalty to Him. Let me say that again. How many of you are... Can I preach to you this morning? Can I preach to you this morning? I don't know how many visitors we have. We haven't gotten to them. Do we have any visitors with us this morning? First time here? Your very first time here. Good. Papa can preach. Okay? Let me tell you something. If this is your church, how many of you consider Trinity Church your church? Then if this is your church, when we say the church is going on a fast, that's you. I don't know what you're waiting for. We're not going to fast in heaven. not going to fast in heaven. We're going to eat. We're going to eat good in heaven. I'm going to have all the sweet bread and Fruity Pebbles I want in heaven, because I can't have them right now, or my numbers go way up. Okay? But are you loyal to the Lord? Can I preach to you this morning? One of the ways you show God that you're loyal to Him is by being loyal to the church that He has you currently fellowshipping at. And fasting shows God our loyalty, not to pastor. I can raise my hand, and I hope pastor saw that I raised my hand. I wore an orange vest to make sure pastor saw that I raised my hand. Hope nobody in here has an orange vest on this morning. Verse 37. You still with me this morning? Amen. You still love Pastor David? Amen. Throw whatever you want at my car afterwards, because it's filthy right now. Verse 37. Go, and the Lord be with you. But let me give you some armor. Let me tell you something. You and I may be sent. Okay? How many of you know in your heart that you are sent? Okay? Can I preach to you here this morning? Amen. Let me ask you something. How many of you here are Christians? Amen. Okay. Then if you're a Christian, that means you're a disciple of Jesus Christ. And you have a responsibility to finish the work that Jesus started. So what are you doing to finish the work that Jesus started? Because anybody can raise their hands and say, hey, I'm a Christian. As I preach over and over again, I can sit in my garage for 2 hours every Sunday morning, but that doesn't make me a car. And you can sit in church for 2 hours every Sunday morning, but that doesn't make you a Christian. What makes you a Christian is you follow the teachings of Jesus Christ. What makes you a Christian is that you've accepted Jesus into your heart and you've given up all hope of ever trying to get right with God on your own ways, your own negotiations, your own schemes, your own dealings with God. And what makes you a Christian also is you are finishing the work that Jesus started. Are you with me this morning? So, if you're sent, now David was sent. Can you say amen? Amen. He says, go and the Lord be with you, but you need a covering. Let me tell you 2 coverings you need. Number 1, you need a visible spiritual covering over your life in order to be sent and be successful at serving the Lord. And the first visible spiritual covering that you need in your life is a church. You need to be part of a church. It doesn't do you any good to go from church to church to church to church. And I think you're not here because, oh, he's probably at the Pacoima church today, and that's why he's not here. Oh, okay, I don't see her here. She's probably at Shepherd of the Hills. Oh, I don't see her here. Oh, she's probably at church on the way this week. And Pastor Dudley thinks, oh, I don't see her here. She's probably with Pastor Jack Hayford over there. And Jack Hayford doesn't see you, and he thinks, oh, they're probably with... what's the name of that guy again? Oh, David. And you've got everybody fooled that you're right with God. And you've got everybody fooled that you're serving the Lord. Even yourself. But I want to remind everybody here, Jesus is coming soon. Amen. Jesus is coming soon. And He's coming for a church that is working for Him. And one of the ways you work for Him is by working in your church. And we go, can I get an amen this morning?